So everybody, I'd like to introduce Ryan and Dan Mendonca, who are the coaches at University of Windsor for the men's and women's programs. In the past year, I've known Ryan for a while, and I've just got introduced to Dan in the past 6 months, let's say. But I have interacted with Ryan for over a year on a regular basis as he's the technical director at Tecumseh Soccer Club, and he's one of the leaders that I count on when we're sitting down and looking at everything that we need to do, how we share ideas, how we collaborate. And I'm very happy to have these two gentlemen on today to explain to you what University of Windsor is all about and give you a great insight of a school that you might not have been considering. So I'm going to hand it over to the two coaches and let them do all the talking.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. Great to be here. I just want to confirm that my screen is showing.
It is.
We're all good. Fantastic. Excellent. So perfect. Thanks for everybody for making the time tonight, hopping on. I've heard good things about these calls, so I'm excited about that. And I'm excited just to have a chat with you and talk about the University of Windsor a little bit. So I'm going to hop right in, and I'll start with an introduction of myself, and then I'll pass it off to Ryan for him to do the same. So personally, 31 years old or young, or however way you want to look at it. I've been married for 3.5 years now to my wife. I'm a new dad of a 1-year-old daughter. So she was born just before the pandemic began. So I've been able to spend a lot more time with her than I typically would. And something that you'll hear a lot about today is family. That's my biggest inspiration. I have the pleasure of being able to coach with my brother Ryan at the university now. We also have another brother named Alex as well. We've desperately tried to loop him into coaching numerous times, but he has chosen not to. A little bit of background. I am I've been a University of Windsor Lancer for pretty much my entire adult life. I've been the head coach since 2019, so I got one season under my belt prior to the pandemic occurring. But I also graduated from the school. So in 2012, I spent 5 years there as a goalkeeper, and I'm a former captain of the team for those 5 years.
Awesome. I'll just chime in, kind of the same way. Name's Ryan Mendonca. Again, 35 years young, even though I'm feeling older by the year. Been married 1 year to my wife, Kanita. We're expecting a baby girl in April 10th. So anytime now. So if I run off screen, you guys know where I went. Source of inspiration is, my mom, and, Daniel talks about family, and for lots of reasons, just her mother's been just a source of strength in our life. Two brothers, Daniel, the women's coach, and our brother, Alex. I was actually on a podcast the other day. I said, I think Alex, the younger brother, would have been the best coach of the three of us. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but it's all right. As Dave touched on, I'm the director at Tecumseh Soccer Club, which competes in the OPDL and now League One. I was the League One men's head coach back in the last season before the pandemic, and I've been the men's soccer coach now for just over 3 years. Prior to that, I was an assistant on both the men's and women's side, and worked with all different age group men's and women's before. Just like as a big, I always start with, welcome to Windsor. Sometimes the groups we speak to haven't been, or the only time you have been down there was to play an away game. I think that sometimes happens. But we're also finding a lot of times now come across people have family in Windsor. And I think that one of the cool things about Windsor is it has a small town feel, but it has a big city proximity. So that means that even though Windsor might not be, you might think of it as 4 hours outside the GTA. In a usual year, other than this past year, we're 30 minutes from downtown Detroit, which means that anything you need in a big city, NFL games, NBA games, NHL games, the big city shopping and that experience you're maybe used to in Toronto is right across the border within 20 minutes. And we get that small town feel where we're kind of tucked away and everybody knows everyone. One of the probably best things I'd say about Windsor is its diverse environment. You go down the streets, you're around campus. There's every kind of cuisine, every kind of culture. It's just a very diverse environment, and it's something we're very proud of at Windsor. And that goes for our teams as well. And I think we're ever able to celebrate that diversity, and welcome it in our programs. We also have welcoming families, and our players who from out of town especially see that. And in general, I think our students from out of town talk about that, how welcoming locals are and willing to show off, just the local spots and just be good hosts. And the other good thing about Windsor, I think a lot of students talk about is, especially depending on some of your majors, you get a really intimate education experience that sometimes isn't at some of the larger schools or houses where you get a better relationship with, I feel like, with your professor. You're not being taught all the time by a TA or GA. You're actually in class size small enough to where you're really getting a dialogue and getting that one-on-one time, especially as you progress through your major. And that goes on huge for, just how deep the knowledge goes that you learn. I think it inspires passion in students, and it goes a long way when you have a relationship with those profs for job placement and co-ops and internships later down the road. Having those relationships matters.
And just to dive in a bit more on the education experience. So, as I mentioned, I'm a graduate of the University of Windsor, but especially in athletics, about 50% of our athletes are part of our kinesiology program. So, which is divided into two specific programs: human kinetics and sport management. We're actually one of the only schools in the country that allows you to enroll into one of the two kinesiology concentrations right out of high school. So you can either go directly into sport management or directly into the human kinetics, kinesiology, science oriented side of HK right out of high school. And that's actually new to Windsor as of fall 2021, which changed. Used to have to declare after 2 years. So it's definitely the most popular program amongst recruits, amongst athletes all across the school. We also are known for our engineering program, which is very strong locally. Our nursing program, which is fantastic here down in Windsor. It's a very popular destination for students. And then our business program, which I'm a proud alumni, Odette School of Business, is an accredited business program, which is important in terms of understanding what schools you want to go to. It helps when you're looking for graduate schools after the fact in the business field. We do have a wide range of majors available. I know a lot of you are probably thinking you don't know what you want to go into. I like science. Maybe I'll become a scientist. I like math. Maybe I'll be a mathematician. But there's all sorts of things: criminology, psychology, biomed, biosciences. And actually, on that note, we have the highest percentage of biomedical students on our women's soccer program. We actually have 8 players with our new 2021 recruiting class who are in the biomedical sciences. So almost 30% of our roster is actually in biology, chemistry, or biomedical. Just to dive in a little bit deeper, our campus at the University of Windsor is growing. Ryan talked about the intimate experience that is our campus. I've been here since 2007 now, so 14 years as a student and as a player. And as a coach, whether it was an assistant coach or now a head coach. And there have been massive changes on campus. The first is it really feels like a community. Most of the streets within our campus are closed. You can pretty much walk anywhere in within 7 to 10 minutes from one to the other. And most of all, the most recent thing that I want to talk about today is our new athletic facility. So we actually have a brand new athletic facility, which there's some renderings on screen here. That is going to be done in spring 2022. So I wanted to take a second, share a quick video of that with you, and then show some progress photos. Awesome. Just a quick summary, I think, into overall what our kind of the direction of our school and our athletic department is going in. We've had years and years of success in the past as a school. We have a 5-time national championship basketball program. We've had both men and women's soccer teams go to the Final Four, be ranked nationally. Our school is really about building champions, and I think that facility is really going to be a place where we can kind of grow and our teams, and I know both the men's and women's soccer program. Just to hop in with a couple of photos. I won't talk over them too much, but I'll just click through. So that was near the start of the construction last summer. As you notice, if you see our stadium in the back there is no turf on the field. It's because we have a brand new state-of-the-art field that's been replaced. And you'll kind of see as I click through some of the construction photos from this winter. So there's some progress there. There's a nice photo, more recent photo after the snow has melted of our field. And I'll just continue through and show a couple more. I know that we're all really excited about this. You know, in addition to our stadium, you know, getting more soccer specific training facilities on campus for us is a big plus. And just more student spaces for our athletes to enjoy and kind of be together as a family. Ryan, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that just we're you know, yeah, we're super excited about the facility. For us, it we love our stadium, and you know, we wanted it to be as a realistic of soccer experience as possible. So, you know, upgrading to state of the art turf and you know in 2021 is huge for us. Just to be able to play the way we want to play. We like the ball to be on the floor when we play. So, some fields, some teams would love a surface maybe that was less reliable, but you know, for us, this is it. So, it's you know, it's awesome.
Awesome. All right, just moving on from there, a little bit about who we are. So Ryan and I have the joy of being able to be siblings who coach together. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. We have very similar visions and missions and kind of where we want our players and our programs to be. A little bit at times, we differ in how we get there, but it's great to be able to collaborate together and have a similar mission and goal as a program, men's and women's. We do a lot of stuff together as a group, fundraisers, charity events, which I think we'll talk about a little bit about what we did a few weekends ago and just our program. So to give you a bit of background, as I mentioned, I got the job back in 2019. I was hired after being an assistant coach for 5 years. And when I met with all the players individually, no different than I think Ryan in his first season, and asked the players who the University of Windsor women's soccer team was, no one had a consistent answer. And what we've been doing really is building a program and a 3-step process about changing the way we think, changing the way we act, and changing the way we play. And with that, part of that was developing our vision, which I talked about, both men's and women's being on the same page. So our vision statement for our programs is maximizing personal and program success on and off the field by optimizing positivity, community engagement, academic excellence, and alumni support. So a lot of words there, but what does that mean for us? And when we broke that down into our mission, it was about becoming a AAA Lancer. So when we talk to our athletes, we evaluate everybody on the 3 A's for us. We have a 4th A, which we talk about behind the scenes, which I'll mention. The first is academics. So we realize you're student athletes. Student comes first, and we're focused on your education. That was one of the things when I took over as coach. I know Ryan's very similar to this. Our average in my first season went from 76% overall to the team to 81%. And that was the addition of tutoring, study halls, you know, peer mentorship and things like that. But academics was a big focus of ours. The second, which relates back to our vision statement, is attitude. The only guarantee, and there's not many guarantees I'll make you during the recruiting process, but the guarantee that I'll make you is that every single person you come in contact with the men's women's program is a good person. Amazing heart, typically has great background or family oriented, and they want the same things that you want. They want to win a championship. They want an amazing university experience, and they're a good person. And then the third A on our list is athletics. And obviously that comes down to the soccer part of things. So making sure that you're performing within your potential, maximizing your potential, and being of high quality throughout your career. The next item within our vision and our mission statement is our core values. So these are reestablished every year amongst both our programs, and understanding the things that are important to us. And these become really our guiding pillars amongst each other. So number one is positivity. Our environment is immensely positive, even in the most competitive or negative moments. We all respect one another. We're very accountable, and we break that down in a lot of different ways in terms of, we want to hold ourselves accountable, hold each other accountable. Hard work, I think, is a bit self-explanatory. And then confidence and self-awareness. And self-awareness is my personal favorite. Just about knowing who you are, what your pros and cons are, what you're good and bad at, and driving forward and be able to communicate with those around you, around all the other core values. And these, as I mentioned, are really our kind of guiding posts, our shining lights in the direction that we're going. And when we had training Monday night, and I'll tell you, it was cold. I know it was probably colder up in Pickering, I imagine, but it was cold. It felt like -10 with the wind chill, and we go back to these core values when things get tough and things get hard, and training maybe isn't up to the way it should be. We go back to these core values to keep us moving in a positive direction.
And I think something that maybe I don't want to say sets us apart, but something that we value a lot is our personal relationships with the players in our program. We believe that if you have good personal relationships from coach to player, that's what it takes for players to have good relationships with one another. You got to lead by example. So we're frequently meeting and having our one-on-one player meetings. And I think something we might do different is we're not just doing IDP meetings for soccer. We're a lot of times doing individual meetings surrounded with life and how things are going, especially during the pandemic. It's been really important for us to check in on our athletes. I think that has a lot of value. We try to develop program values and set a baseline in each and every person. Not every person's going to come in well-rounded. You're not going to come in a perfect person. We're not perfect people as staff, so we're constantly checking on ourselves, seeing where we are, where we're lacking. Are we confident enough in ourselves? Are we reflecting and being self-aware? We got to check in. A big thing for us is, like Daniel said, is communicate the culture of giving. It's really big on us. We're very fortunate. There's, everyone on this call, you're very fortunate because not everybody gets to play soccer at the level you play at. Not everybody can afford it. Not everybody has been able to, is able to get on a computer and get on Wi-Fi and complain about their connection signal during the pandemic. And we try to help out those around us that maybe are less fortunate or who need us to extend a hand and lift them up. And then, the final things on helping a person are maybe planning with a purpose. So not just going out and doing a bunch of random things. We have a plan in the way in which we want to give in our charity and community events. And we want to bring families together. So I'll say something we started to do is we do our kickoff family brunch where we don't only want to get to know you, but we bring in your families, all our athletes' families at the first home game of the year. And we have them introduce their families and their parents and their siblings to everyone. And we think it creates a big camaraderie and just makes it a big overall family. The next one is player, like I said, one-on-one meetings. When we talk about the soccer story, like I said, it's not an evaluation. We're all on a journey. So it's about where you are at in your soccer story. and we understand that every player is going to have different motivations and long-term and short-term goals. So I'll give you an example. I got players that have been in trials in the CPL and are on the short list for the CPL draft, going to be, next year. Didn't get declared eligible this year in the top 48, but are close. I also have guys that have no interest in playing pro, probably could get to the same level, but they have a 98% and they're in pre-med and they're going to be my kid's doctor one day probably. And that's okay. But we understand that we're all here to compete, so we got to take the hike together. We relate the way in which we play soccer to the way we live everyday life. So with the respect and the same mentality that we have. And then, like I always say, we got to be adaptable and flexible. I think it's a big core value of ours, but keeping sturdy footing in our core principles. And for us, that just comes as a summary of how we grow. Talk about serving the person, educating yourself in the classroom, nurturing your psyche and mental wellness, and engaging yourself as a player. And that's just our Lancer mentality. So just to kind of sum up the approach piece, something that, we created in year one is our mentality is about love and sacrifice. It starts with being able to stand up, and I don't have a problem in a men's program, kind of feels weird, with truly the ability to love the guy next to you. And what are you willing to sacrifice and give up for the guy next to you in the game? In the most valuable, heated moment of the game, are you willing to sacrifice your stats, sacrifice your health, sacrifice your endurance to make up for your teammate? Talk about our accountability and attitude and our never stop mentality. And then, like we talked about, connection and communication are key so that we can execute and perform. And then afterwards we reflect and respond. Whether we had success, great. Whether we didn't, that's okay. These are personal principles. This is one thing I share. I'm big on vulnerability, so I'll share this. So the reason why I like writing these down is this. When you're an assistant coach, they talk a lot of crap. Like, assistant coaches think they know everything. So I was an assistant coach for a long time. So I thought I was a genius. Daniel was an assistant coach for a long time. Dave, I don't know how long ago you were an assistant coach, but you've been an assistant coach before. But we all think we know everything, right? And I kind of got thrown into the head coach role very suddenly. It wasn't a natural progression in grooming like Daniel. I had actually stepped away and focused on the club, and the men's job kind of came up, and I got the phone call. So these are personal principles I wrote down. And the first thing, these are answers to questions. When you don't have the answer to things in your life and you say, man, I don't know how to answer this. These are just little personal principles I always like to share. First thing's trust yourself. So if you're questioning something in your life, first thing you got to do is be confident who you are. Second thing, you got to do the right thing. If you're thinking about doing the wrong thing, if you're doing something you wouldn't want to tell your mother about, you should probably stop doing it and do the right thing. Third thing is you got to serve other people. Fourth thing is you got to be willing to take the next step. That means don't let stress debilitate you, no matter how hard or how big that failure was. Fifth thing is we got to love the game. That's why we're here. And then as a program, we talked about investing in everyone. So when I sit at a dinner table, I talk to everyone. I invest my time equally in everyone. We're all here together. If I had time, I'd answer questions from every person. No person's more important than anyone else. I'm definitely going to have more fun than anyone. This is my principle that annoys Daniel the most, because no matter the score on the weekend, I will be joking on the ride home. Even when I'm hurting the most, I will go home and cry and not sleep if we took a bad loss. But I definitely want to make sure we have the most fun. And I'm going to be grateful for the opportunity to be on that bus with my family and my players, because we're a family. The best acronym ever is FAMILY, stands for forget about me, I love you. That's what family is. That's what your parents are. If you don't realize how much your parents have sacrificed for you to be here, you should really think about that sometimes, because that's what love is. Love is sacrifice. So I always like to share those. So now into soccer stuff, off the soft skills. How it started, this is what happened. I got hired in April. We were 5-8-3 in conference. That was generous. We did not perform well. 26 goals for, 29 against. In case you're not a stat geek, that's not good. We returned almost less than half the starts that I brought in. We were completely unproven as a team. We were untrained, so I didn't benefit getting players like yourselves that came from high performance environments like Pickering, other OPDL clubs or League One environments. I had guys that were guys that were in clubs that maybe only trained twice a week. Maybe one of them was intense, whatever. And we're undersized. We're the smallest team in the OUA. There's not even a question. And we've leaned into that. So how it's going, I got to get some side-by-side visuals for these. 2 years later, we were top 5 in every defensive category in the OUA. Like I said, we turned our weaknesses into strengths. With the smallest team, we're probably the fittest team. We're abysmal in creating chances. If you notice, we're 15th in shots per game. That's not a good stat because there's like 19 teams or 20 teams in the OUA now. But interesting stat, we are 6th in shooting percentage. So when we get our chances, we take them. So that's something that we value. And we're 4th in shutouts. My favorite and least favorite stat all in one is that in the country, we had the least yellow cards. So if you have a coach, and I know if Dave's ever been coached, that's maybe not a good thing. We'd like to get stuck in a little bit more than that. But most importantly, only one of those yellows was for mouth. And those are things we can control. So we're very happy. We've redefined toughness in our program. Toughness isn't like retaliating when a guy hacks you. It's not hacking him back. Toughness isn't yelling at the ref when you don't like the call or running your mouth. Toughness is playing through it. It's manning up and dealing with it and getting on with it and doing the job. And that's to get a result. That's the fight for your team. One thing I do want to share, because I know in a club you've been doing a lot of tactical analysis, Dave. One thing where our program's going, our 2020 winter and spring season saw an increase over 100 passing actions per game over the last 2 years, which means that we've gone from about 350 passing actions per game to 450 on average, which is our sweet spot for possession. So that's a stat, that's a KPI that I love. So think about this: we were averaging about 350 passes a game. Now we're averaging about 450 over the course of 2 years. It's not easy to integrate 100 passes per game. And if you watch us, I don't like keeping possession for possession's sake. My brother is more inspired by Pep than I am. If you want to watch some Hoffenheim, some Red Bull, some Leipzig, that's the way we like to play. So, that's just a summary of kind of where we are right now.
Yeah, just before you hop in to the next part, Ryan, I just wanted to kind of give everybody a summary. I don't have the stats up here in terms of where I am. So as I mentioned, 2019 got our start. We had 12 freshmen who were recruited by the former head coach, and 4 girls returning from injury who were redshirted freshmen. So we had 16 of our 32 players on our roster who were first year of eligibility. And we really prioritized a few things, which we didn't get to see, come to fruition in year 2, but that was, our academics, which we talked about, which was big for us, our compete level, and our goals and objectives over a long period of time, and what we saw. And I'm excited to show the side by side after this upcoming fall, because what we've done is create a program that is consistent and ongoing. After we got eliminated from it and we didn't make the playoffs in our first year, the practice the Monday after that final game was as intense of our first practice of training camp, and we've continued that on. And we went on from finishing second last in the OUA West, and I'm very transparent about what that looks like in the standings, to traveling to U of T in January and tying them 1-1, and they went from the national championship to playing us. So we're in a different development phase of the men's team, but we're in growing a program around the right values, and I'm excited to put some results on the field this fall.
Awesome.
Speaking about, sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, speaking about fall, yeah, I think that's our next. Yeah, I'll run through this quick because I know I want to get to questions. So I'll give you a quick summary of what our season looks like. First of all, this is hopefully what we're hoping for 2021. There's no season this last season, so we had a nice break. Something about our men's program: we don't do fitness testing. We haven't. I wanted to do it in the off season to give a baseline. We don't do fitness testing. This is the reason. Every player who's ever come in from any club has said that our training environment's the most intense environment they've been in. I'm a very soft-spoken person, and I like to have fun, but we're very demanding. We're probably the fittest team in the OUA. That's because, like I said, what we lack for in talent and size, we have to make up somewhere. So we'll press a team all day long. And if you're not fit enough and ready to play come season time, you're not going to play when you come to Windsor. That's you can do other things. You can wear a tracksuit, that looks good, but you won't be playing. So when you come into Windsor, you got to be ready to play on day one. Our season, we play on the weekend, either Friday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday. Those back-to-backs are brutal sometimes. Monday is recovery day, which means that we don't talk about soccer. The only people who talk about soccer on Monday are the people who didn't play their minimum of number. Usually we pick 50 minutes on the weekend. Everybody else, don't come talk to me about soccer. If you have a soccer problem, we can address it on Tuesday. If you want to talk to me about you broke up with your girlfriend or boyfriend, Monday's a great time to talk for that. You want to talk about your fight you're having with your parents about something? Awesome. You want to talk about your grades? Great. Mondays, no soccer for anyone. We don't even send out game film Monday because you have to maintain some sanity. Okay. And we believe mental wellness is important and family is a cornerstone of our values. So Monday's a recovery day. Tuesday, we work on our technical recovery. So it's a little bit of a session. I know in Pickering, you have your periodization program. We review our principle, which we're working on in that cycle that week. Wednesday is our intra-squad game day. So we wear we have our heart rate monitors and, we see where we're at in terms of accumulated fatigue, and we play an 11v11 as part of our training. Wednesday's our most intense or strenuous day on the body, and that's where we're implementing our principle, whatever we're working on that week. Thursday, we'll be reviewing our tactical setup, so we'll get smaller on the field, our training, and we're working on maybe our strategy that we're using that weekend. Maybe we're implementing something different. Maybe we're changing shapes as a men's program. I don't want to speak for the women's program, but I do know Daniel. We're flexible. We stick to our principles. We're flexible in formation, so things may be changing based on our opponent on the weekend. And Thursday, we also have our team meeting and game film. Something about the men in Windsor, we train at 6:30 in the morning. Check my Twitter, check my Instagram. It's beautiful because there's nothing going on at 6 in the morning. You have no reason to be distracted. So get to the field and get ready to work. There's no class, there's no homework, there's no mom, dad texting you, there's no girlfriend, boyfriend texting you. It's awesome. So during the season and in the off season, we train in the morning. In the off season, I originally had scheduled practice later, but the players actually said, hey, we like the morning. It sets a tone for the day. It gets me up. It keeps me from sleeping in. So that's kind of what a season looks like.
Excellent. And just to hop into the off season, this is January and February of the winter. This was our proposed schedule. That got blown up really quickly in January. But this is what the off season typically looks like for us through January, February. So 3 days or nights a week, the men's team trains early morning. The women's team chooses, although we have offered them early morning sessions, they chose the last thing they do every night. So that's why we train at 9:30 p.m. It's the last thing they do before they go to bed, because last year we trained at 6:30 and they said they were the least productive they've ever been after that, and they couldn't do any homework or anything. So Monday is typically technical, very, very about you. We honestly have a theme from a training perspective that if on Mondays you're worried about anybody else but yourself, you're doing it wrong. So it's about improving you, being self-aware about you. Wednesday is intra-squad game day, very similar to in-season. That was very important for us in our plan, and it's part of what's going to happen when we change to orange here shortly, hopefully. It's about competition. So being able to compete with each other, looking to be better than the person next to you, and be ready for the season. And then Friday is tactical game model session. So whatever in our periodization plan, whatever that structure is and what we're working on that week, Friday, it's really, really, put under a fine-tuned microscope, and we're giving a lot of feedback to the players. A lot of feedback, even in relation to the fall in comparison. There is a ton of personal feedback in those individual meetings and individual sessions throughout the off-season testing or off-season training. And then lastly, strength training in the off-season. Typically, we're lifting 3 to 4 times a week, and we also have baseline testing to monitor status, similar to the men's program in a lot of ways. But the women's team does have fitness testing, but I'm not calling it testing because we don't actually evaluate anybody on it. We have a standard of fitness, and players are very quick to realize when they're not at standard. Our testing is about evaluating health and wellness of the player. The OUA season is the longest sprint and the shortest marathon you'll ever go on. It's 8 weeks of grueling. Ryan just showed you the schedule, 5 days a week, 6 days a week of soccer. Typically players are less fit when the season's over than they are. They lose muscle mass, they lose weight, and they're less fit. So our testing is about monitoring where they're at in that process. And then lastly, just quickly, March, typically our last month before exams occur, we start playing 11v11 competitive matches. A lot of inter-squad games outdoors. Typically by the last weekend of February, first weekend of March, barring a massive snowstorm, our turf field is clear, which it is right now, and we're outside again. Similar schedule, 3 times a week with our same strength program, and then we look for games. Ryan, before we hop into questions, you want to just add?
Yeah, I was just gonna say something that is cool about Windsor is the last 2 years we were able to build like a spring season for ourselves. So, some programs maybe are focused on the fall and have a couple games or here and there in the winter. Because of our proximity to the border, we're able to line up, 6 games in Ontario and then 6 or 7 games against, Division I opponents in the US. So our last spring schedule that got cut short, unfortunately, was like Bowling Green, Western Mich, IPFW, Michigan State, Detroit Mercy, and Saginaw Valley. So, one of the benefits of coming to Windsor from a soccer is, as you see, as a year-round program, because we also put together a spring season for ourselves, and that for us that excites a lot of guys because and girls because maybe they made the decision to stay in Ontario and they want to prove to players who maybe chose to go across the border. I think, and they want to prove to themselves that, yeah, they made a choice to stay in Ontario. It wasn't because they couldn't. And we've shown that in having success across the border as well. So it's been really cool. It was unfortunate that the pandemic cut it short. I was really excited to play against Michigan State. Like Michigan State and Michigan asked to play us. But we couldn't fit any more games in. But then it would have been our biggest stage for sure to play against 2 Big Ten opponents. But we're hoping to do that in spring 2022. So yeah, that's it. Dave, I know that's maybe a lot more long-winded. That's what happens when you get 2 brothers in the same. We're fighting to get our word in and brag about our program. But yeah, open for questions and be as real as you guys and girls want. I think you're muted, Dave.
I think it's good that you were able to both of you to give them the insight to the school. I think it helps them understand and do their own comparisons from one school to another, what the differences are, what the similarities are, but also to be able to see you guys as people, not just as coaches. So I'm going to open it up to have them all start their questions, and hopefully they have quite a few. So if they want to put their hand up, I will get to them. So Hayder will go first.
Hi, coaches. My name is Hayder. I'm part of the U16, U17 OPL team. And I'd like to thank you for coming on talking to us. And my question is, what would you say is the biggest strength you'd say about each other?
Ooh, I will go. I will go first.
Okay.
Daniel was once nicknamed by our former strength coach back when he was an athlete. He was nicknamed the Mayor of Good Times. And Daniel is he says it all the time. I believe in the positive culture, but I sometimes internalize some negativity. Daniel's positive outlook on life brings everybody up and brings the glue together. My brother is he's the glue that holds our family together. He hosts our holidays, our Thanksgivings, our stuff like that. And even times when I'm driving the energy of the program sometimes, or when I stall, he's always there and consistently to have my back. He's had the men's programs back. So that's, I think, his biggest strength. But the other thing I have to say is this side of Toronto, Daniel's the best tactical mind in soccer. I say I'm a lot of things, but I'm very lucky to have staff. So Daniel is by far the best tactical mind in the game on this side of Toronto. I don't want to argue with people in Toronto, and I'd love to for Dave and Daniel to talk tactics more, but our staff involves Daniel in our tactical conversations. He sees the game on a different level. So if you're a female player who likes to get real deep, have deep tactical conversation about how you play the game and see the game, there's nobody better.
Thanks, Ryan. Every once in a while, he throws me a couple bones. I'll take it. I think this would be a difficult question to answer, except I answered it a couple weeks ago on a podcast I did. Honestly, and you guys probably felt this way through this presentation. I rely heavily on Ryan in our program's collaboration for his ability to evaluate and develop culture. I love developing my team's culture, but Ryan has an amazing ability to establish a base, collectively bring everybody on the same page and direct them in a positive direction. He's a fantastic leader, a leader of both men and women, because I know a lot of my women's players on our team look up to him. He sits in every single culture meeting our team has and provides pretty in-depth feedback. And his ability to guide us in that direction is an awesome one. So I would probably say that is his strength, and it yings to my yang, for lack of a better term, I guess. And we're able to collaborate well in that way.
Okay.
Thanks, bro.
Antonio?
Yeah, I'm Antonio from the 2006 ERSL team. And I was just wondering, you guys said like how academics was very important to you guys, and I was wondering what you guys offer to maybe help players with their academics.
Daniel, you want to chime in?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for the question. So as you mentioned, academics is most important. So when it comes to us, we really have a few programs in place. The first is we're a full access environment for tutoring and academic support. So no matter what your difficulty is, no matter online school is definitely an interesting place. We've dealt with more academic issues this year than I think I ever have. We offer any tutoring or support, and it's covered by the program. So none of that ever comes down to you. So that's number one. There's, I think initially when we launched it, a lot of players abused it, but now they are very much on track. The second is mandatory study hall each week. So we have typically 90 minutes to 2 hours twice a week where the players are together taking study hall. And actually this coming fall, we're doing a little bit of a study hall hours competition and fundraiser. So the men's and women's team are competing for amount of time that is spent in the study hall. And we actually have a lot of local businesses who are donating $1 for every hour we spend in the classroom. So it's very important to us. And then lastly, when you come in as a freshman, you're matched up typically with a senior player within our program. So women for women, men for men, who is in the same program as you, who you can always use as a resource. If we don't have someone in our program, we go to the men's team because we're always on the bus with them together, or the women's team and vice versa. And then if we can't find someone in our programs, we go to another athlete to make sure you have a peer mentor who's in a senior, more senior year than you from an academic perspective.
It's good. Zach?
Coaches, my name is Zach Landry. I play for the 2006 boys CSL team, and throughout the meeting, I've seen that you guys are pretty well when it comes to statistics and stuff. So my question is, do you keep like individual statistics on players during like games, passing percentage, etc.?
I'll take this one. So we I don't know if any of your players have used MSA. So we used because League One uses MSA. It's just it's like any statistical program. It clips all our games, so we upload all our games. This year, actually, we plan to be live streaming all our games. That's one of the goals for our program, with some fun commentators, hopefully. But when we upload these games, it clips every action you have. So like when we were talking about actions, we'd be able to go into it and let's say we clipped on for you played the game. So we go down the roster, click on Zach. It would show every action you have. We could clip all your passes in a certain area. So we could highlight, let's say our zones 1 and 2 in our half, what passes you made there. We could look at all the forward passes you made. We could watch those episodes together, backward passes you made. statistics are a scary thing because we don't want players to get too fixated on statistics. I like looking at trends. And I probably would rather spend that time with your clips looking at your habits. So, for example, if you're not making enough forward passes, if we don't think you're playing forward enough, maybe let's look at those clips and understand why, and then let's look to get that number trending up. So it's not about hitting a certain number; it's about where you are on your soccer journey. I think I shared it in the story you're telling yourself, where you are on your soccer journey. Every player is going to be different. We had a holding midfielder. We had a 6 that we used to joke pass sideways and backwards. And my first year when I came in, my goal was to get Chris to play more key passes forward. So that was a statistic he keyed in on. But also this year we're filming every practice. So like tonight I'll review this morning's practice because I think that matters too. And it's not just on ball statistics; it's off ball statistics. How quickly you can press, how quickly we get in position, how quickly we get into our build out shape. If we win the transition, a big thing for us is like the top teams are too good. If you don't win the transition, if you don't get organized before they get organized, you're losing. So you got to win the transition moments, and that for us is what we look at.
Yeah, and then just to add into what Ryan mentioned, and he talked about it very early on, data and statistics can tell you whatever you want it to tell you. You can make completing 10 out of 14 passes look positive, and you can make it look negative. So on the concept of trends, a big thing that the women's team is looking at right now, especially through our programming, is momentum and control. So regardless of if we, lose the ball, get rid of, in practice or training, do we actually lose control of that moment, right? Because you can lose the ball and not lose control of the moment. So we've been making sure we truly understand our themes. That way statistics don't, mess with our psyche in that way. So.
Okay. So the next question is to Jonathan. Jonathan, you there?
Hello, my name is Jonathan Campbell. I play on the 2006 CSL team. My question is, why should I pick Windsor over other universities?
Ooh. I don't think you should pick a school over any other university. I think you gotta find the right fit. That's like walking into your school and saying why you should date somebody over anyone else. I don't think it's a tangible one thing over another. I think you have to have conversations with coaches. You have to visit campuses, which is very tough for grade 11s and 12s this year. And I think sometimes the campus speaks to you and it feels right. It's like telling you, it's like saying when you find someone that's your best friend or someone you're in a relationship with, it's like finding that perfect fit. So as much as I want to say come to Windsor, it's not a good fit for everyone. So I got to get to know you better. I can say that at Windsor, I'm going to make every effort I can to get to know every player on deep levels. Like some things I didn't talk about, the men's team, we do a book club every season. We read books together. We talk about the values. So we read the Culture Code, read Legacy about the All Blacks. I think we're going to read Mamba Mentality this year and a tribute to Kobe and study them. We do journaling, self-reflective journaling, and talk about sometimes the goals of the day. Sometimes we talk about what your most painful moment in your life was. Write a journal, and some players will share. So, I mean, pick Windsor if it fits you, but if you really want to get to know yourself on that level, and if you're willing to have a relationship with your teammates and be part of a family, that's I think something we go deeper on than anyone. There's a lot of it. There's tons of better soccer schools. You might come here and never win. Windsor men haven't won in 25 years. I don't know if we're going to win in the next 5 years, so I can't promise you that. But I can say I'm going to do everything I can to help you become the best version of yourself, get to know yourself, and get to know your teammates, build lifelong friendships and relationships. And we're going to compete like all hell every game.
And I'll just hop into what Ryan mentioned. The conversation that I love having with young women is, is identifying, do you want to stay home? Do you want to go away to school? And then narrowing down from there, and then making a list of schools that are available to you academically that make sense for you. And that doesn't. It's a very popular conversation. I know there's some players from the Windsor Essex area on the call from Tecumseh for us, because there's schools in Michigan that are closer than the next OUA school to us, being Western. So that comes up a lot as well. So you have to figure out what academic program makes sense for you, what campus, and then start to go from there. I will tell you this though, the way I attribute to Windsor's environment and the positives of it as an academic institution and an athletic program is how many players who come from out of town, or how many students who come from out of town end up settling in Windsor after school. And the number is high. Players, I actually tell recruits and their parents that if your daughter comes to Windsor, there is a high chance that she will end up settling down in Windsor, because it's a great place to be. It's a very oriented family environment, family-oriented environment. It's just a positive place to be. So that does happen a lot, and I think that's a credit to the university and also the area.
Okay. So I will ask Ria to ask her question.
Hi coaches, my name is Ria and I play on the 2007 girls OPDL team. And I was wondering, if I decide to do my master's, would I still be eligible to play for the women's soccer team?
Awesome, Ria. Thanks for your question. So in Ontario, which I'm sure you've heard from other coaches, you are able to play 5 years. You have 5 years eligibility. So based sheerly on that statistic, typically if you go 4 years in your undergrad, which is a standard, degree, you obviously have a year of eligibility left. If you don't play in your freshman season for any reason, that would give you additional eligibility, which is great as well. In addition to that, in Ontario, if you transfer from an undergrad program, so let's say you decide to go to a school in the GTA and decide to transfer to Windsor for your grad school, and you have, regardless of what eligibility you have left, you're allowed to use it. So you don't have to sit out a year, you don't lose a year, as long as you're transferring for grad school as well. So it is possible.
Thank you.
So we're almost out of time. Is there anything that you want to finish off with as a comment to the players on perhaps of what they should be doing to prepare themselves now in their high school years in a club environment that will get them the best opportunity to prepare for CIS or OCAA competition?
I'll go first, and then Daniel, you can take us home. I would say, if this last year's taught us anything, it's the number one person you can rely on is the person in the mirror. And there's a lot of student athletes that have let themselves down and have needed help over the last year. So I think to be confident in yourself and be proud of what you've gone through. This is something that nobody else has gone through ever in the world. How all of a sudden isolated we've become and how interconnected we used to be. So you should be proud of who you are and the work you can do on your own. Just the fact that you're on this call, like your third week in a row. I see some familiar faces still asking questions like you were the first week, showing up, being professional. 2007 girls thinking about their masters. I'm talking to grade 12 players today. They don't even know what they're going to do, in the fall. So kudos to you. So keep believing in yourself, stay true to who you are. And when you get out there, anytime you do something, go all out. Don't leave room to say what if. If you're going to train at practice tonight, train. If you're going to go for a run, go for a run. If you're going to go all out, go all out. Last weekend, we did a charity event. We did a fundraiser for the Voices of Excellence Scholarship, men's and women's soccer did. Rather than just doing like a 5K or whatever, some crazy coach decided it'd be a good idea to do a 4x4x48, which means it's 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours, which we didn't even make the players do that. The players only had to do 1 mile every 4 hours. The coaches did all 48 miles. So I ran, if you look at me, I'm not built to walk/run 48 miles in 48 hours. But we did it. We raised $20,000 for the Voices of Excellence, which is a BIPOC scholarship for Black and Indigenous and people of color in going into kinesiology to make that scholarship happen in 2021. And I'm finally recovered, thank goodness. But we went in it to try to raise a couple $1,000s. You know, Daniel was like, well, we'll raise like $5,000. And I kept pushing and saying, no, we're gonna raise more. And we went on Facebook Live, we went on social media, and we pushed our alumni, and we pushed our athletes, and they got out there, and we had some fun with it. And you know, and that's just, you know, kind of how I've approached 2021 is, if we're gonna do stuff, like, nothing's promised in life. You know, what got taken away over the last year. So if you're gonna go all out, because you don't know when you're gonna get that chance again. So you got a dream, whether it be school, whether it be life, whether it be soccer, just go do something and see what happens. You'll be surprised. Magic happens when you give everything. So that's it.
And I'll just hop in there. And I'm not sure I'll be as inspirational as Ryan. So I did say that was his big positive, but honestly, just continue to control the uncontrol. You know, control the things that you can control. I think that when Ryan talked about my positivity, one thing that I'm really good at is, through this whole process, I've been able to just sit back and be like, well, I can't control what happens outside of my, you know, my individual life. And I think that makes sense for all of you. If you can't go on the field and train because we're in lockdown, you can go for runs. You can still work out. You can jump on your basement. You can touch a ball. To be ready, you know, those of you who are deep into the recruiting process, this is I really do feel bad for all of you, because this is a very tough situation, but all of the players are in the same situation. So when coaches are ready to look at you and coaches are able to look at you, if you controlled everything that you can control, you'll be set and you'll be in a good place. And the last thing I will say is this: I am available, and Dave, feel free to share my email with anybody. It's on the website as well. I will have a university conversation with any player, male or female, at any given time. Windsor doesn't even have to be on your list. If you have a question, you have a concern about you know, the NCAA over U Sports or OCAA or whatever, you have a question about York, doesn't matter. Just feel free to ask, and I'm willing to sit there and have a quick chat with you about it, and be open for conversation. So I just want to extend that out. I'm always a resource for young players who are ambitious and looking to play college soccer or university soccer. So just thank you. And yeah, if you guys want to chat, feel free to reach out.
Dan and Ryan, thanks very much for tonight, to take out the time from your personal lives to be able to talk to all the players. I really want to appreciate you on behalf of Pickering, but I also want to congratulate you guys on raising that $20,000 where you thought it was going to be $5,000 and you quadrupled it. So hats off to you. I saw the pictures of Ryan, and I could feel the pain. I could feel the pain.
That chair, I wore out this chair Monday. I didn't move much the Monday after.
I could imagine. Looking at your pictures after your runs each time, I was like, better on you, man. Better on you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, listen, again, thank you so much for taking the time. It has been very rewarding, not only to have your friendship, but also being able to collaborate with you throughout the whole year. And I appreciate that. I wish you the very, very best at finishing that course online with UBC over the next, what is it, 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope I get my acceptance. I appreciate the reference, Dave. It's good.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. You're a good person, and I was happy to write the reference letter for you. So I appreciate that, and I hope that if you want to tell the players who you have coming, Dan, to University of Windsor. I know that she's not on the call, but it's the fact that she's at work and then straight off to training. So do you want to let them know? I think some of them saw it on social media, but I'm not sure if they all know.
I'm assuming you're referring to Sophia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sophia Shida is attending. We found out last night she met with our captain's council, I think Sunday night, for their team meeting, that she goes by Shida quite a bit. So she is coming down to Windsor and joining our 2021 recruiting class. So we're excited to have her. She has roots in Windsor. Her dad lives and works down here as well. So hopefully through the process, if you guys ever have any questions, she'll be willing to chat with you about her experience, because hopefully it will be a positive one. So yeah, we're excited to have some Pickering blood down in Windsor. So,
and hopefully we get some more. So I appreciate it again. So I'll let the players go because some of them are going to rush off to practice. Thanks for the players that came on from Tecumseh. And if any players were from Brampton, I appreciate that as well.